whatever about Ultan, how up for the game we were. CJ's dad was up for the game. I bumped into him in reception, and CJ introduced me, and his dad goes, "I swear we're going to fuck them up today." From a South African talking about us doing that for the Springboks. I was like, he is massively up for this game.
Joe presents Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Hello, and you're very welcome to Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe together with Guinness. We have a seriously good show coming up for you today. We are going to be joined by former Waratahs Australia and Toulon winger Drew Mitchell. We'll also be talking to Connacht and Ireland second row Ultan Dillane, who is doing some great work with an animal charity during this COVID-19 crisis. Ultan will also help Trimby and I talk through our game of the weekend, which was Ireland versus South Africa in the first test in Cape Town in 2016, which both the boys were playing in. And also we've got our classic album, which is Justin Timberlake's Justified, and I will justify picking it, don't you worry. And for those of you out going, "Oh, Justin Timberlake," I'll justify it, don't worry. And also,
that was my initial reaction.
I know. Pat nearly had a heart attack. Pat was like, "Oh, that's not real music." I'll show you. And courtesy of a wonderful penguin, we went with Midnight Run, starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin as our classic film of the week. Penguins are a huge part of my life now, just in general. It was World Penguin Day the weekend.
You summed it up. You said,
on to me.
You said it feels like every day is World Penguin Day.
It does, doesn't it? Every day there's some sort of massive reference to penguins in the world. Do you remember in Billy Madison, that Adam Sandler film?
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great film. We could potentially review that, where he keeps seeing this, he keeps hallucinating and seeing a penguin all the time.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I see what's going on here."
It's just this giant penguin. Mr. Penguin. That's what I feel like. I'm like, Orla, you seen that penguin as well as me? Or is it just me? But I welcome it. I welcome the penguins. Orla was watching our film the other day, or a TV show, I don't know what it was, and I walked in and there was a massive climax at the end where it was all about how amazing animals penguins are, and how they're so loyal and the most loyal and honest, trustworthy animals out there. So fair play. I've got now about 4 artists I think involved, and just constant supply of movie and album recommendations. Right, we've got a serious show. Look, tell me about your week. How's your week been going?
Quick cat update. All of the lesser cats have fallen by the wayside, and Ginger has won our affections more so than anyone else. And she's been growing in confidence more and more. She's made her way into the house on a number of occasions. And we started off by saying, "Jack Molly, do not let that cat into the house. Don't feed that cat. Don't bring it into the house. Just laugh at it and maybe pet it at a stretch." But the cat has pushed the boundaries more and more, and Anna's pushed the boundaries, and the kids, to the point where I'm just expecting,
like Pat Mustard from did we mention him already? I feel like we did. Pat Mustard from Father Ted. Are there any other updates in your week?
Yeah,
have you been busy?
Well, I think we sickened the cat, by the way. I think we might have seen the last of the cat because kids were upstairs, and it's been great. We distraction, got rid of the kids for half an hour, and they just play with the cat upstairs. We don't know what's going on. But there's an awful lot of noise and a lot of racket and things falling over and screaming and shouting. and then Ginger just walks through the kitchen on her way out again. She just looks at us, she's like, "Stop."
with the MIDI cable hanging out of her arse. And a microphone.
So we might have seen that. We've definitely put her off. So anyway, a little bit of an update. I did a Vodafone gig on Friday, like a virtual gig. The corporate get-togethers for like corporate partners of Vodafone and stuff, and like loads of kids and all. We did it with Murray, Handy, and Andrew Conway, and it was great. Actually, great crack. Something that came up. One suggestion: there's no rugby to speak of these days, and people are getting desperate for like theories and and reporting on non-events. Right. First of all, the Ulster players got a rap over the knuckles. Did you see this?
It's all
for training together. And then on Twitter is an absolute cesspit. I've seen the best and the worst of it this week. The best of it was Roger Wilson. He replied to the Belfast Telegraph and said, "It looks like you need me to get a proper story again." I don't know if you remember any of the proper stories in the past.
Brilliant.
And then the next day, Roger tweeted the Belfast Telegraph and said, at Belfast Telegraph, "You didn't hear it from me, but I heard some of the Ulster players are washing their hands with cold water."
That's cool.
So good. He's stirring it up there a bit, but I also saw one slightly more realistic rugby story was the potential of the Interpro Championship. But what they were discussing, I think it was on the 42, they were discussing how obviously different jurisdictions, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, and they think if they get it all under one jurisdiction, then it'll be more likely to happen. So they're suggesting that Ulster relocate to Dundalk. And I'm not sure what the Ulster support base is like in Dundalk. I wouldn't have thought it would be that strong.
It wouldn't be great, I'd say.
Yeah. And then, so we were talking about this in the Vodafone thing with Hendy, and Hendy said, "What about if the British government approved it and the Republican government didn't? Then we might get everybody into Northern Ireland for a round robin of Interpros."
Yeah.
And we were suggesting where would we locate Munster and Leinster. And I like the idea of Leinster, who are used to D4, nice and posh, locating in the crappiest part of Northern Ireland that we can find. Or somewhere very loyalist, actually.
Yeah. I don't know where we'd go. You tell me. I've no experience.
We were going to put you and Munster and Leinster to Strabane and Larne, the two places. Right. The only issue is there. So I was kind of slagging Larne, but Larne's not far from my house, to be fair. Yeah. I'm probably in the catchment area for Larne. So if they stayed there long term, then Jack would be playing mini rugby like under Leicester rugby jurisdiction. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'd probably end up being a Leicester supporter, which I'm happy. I'm time for a change. I've been an Ulster supporter long enough, I think.
Oh no! Never say that. You reckon?
Time for a change. I'm very open-minded. We've got to be journalists. We've got to be neutral now, Barry.
That's true. Although I was passionate. I thought that I was watching the Back to Pro 12 final from the what was that 2016 Connacht versus Leinster, and I was so good, still like to this day going for Connacht. I was trying to watch it with an inch. I was like, "Go on, Connacht!" So I don't know if that'll ever die.
Connacht got very cocky that year, though. I felt like they got really far ahead of themselves really quickly, and with a year of Connacht dominance. Straight away, I dislike Connacht as much as I disliked Leinster for years.
Remember you saying that before, yeah.
And then the following season, Connacht just the rug was pulled out from under them. They were back to being terrible again. They got beat in the first game of the next season by Glasgow at home, bonus point to Glasgow, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad normal service is resumed and Connacht are crap again."
I will get Ultan Dillane on a while. We'll see what he makes of that.
Don't tell him I said that.
I'm definitely going to tell him you said that.
Yes, that was my week. Right. What about yourself?
My week was good. I've kind of got quite diligent with my. I've got some Barry's do's and don'ts. So like I got quite good at spacing out my time and segregating exactly what I want to do in my week. Parenting, I've gotten quite good. I've realized that parenting really only comes down to about 3 hours a day where you have to spend quality time with them. The rest of it, you're just a cog in a wheel. They're just a cog in the wheel, and it's all just cleaning nappies and sticking things and feeding them and stuff, and putting them to sleep. And then so I've got like an hour or two a day where I need to dance for them and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that's grand. I've it nailed. I don't know why people are giving out about that. It's a breeze. 2 hours a day.
It sickens me a bit how good you are at it and how little it takes out of you.
Well, the rest, like I'm saying, 2 to 3 hours of quality time, and the rest is like 7 hours of actual lack of quality time. Literally shit and piss and screaming. And then my TV watching, I've had to kind of call it a little bit because I was getting a bit too crazy on it. I have, but I watched the entire of Afterlife, Ricky Gervais season 2.
I haven't got into that yet.
Oh, you never watched the first season?
No.
Oh, Jesus. Mary and St. Joseph.
Don't watch
It's
it.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's so simple, so beautiful, and very emotive. And Ricky Gervais, man, he is unbelievable. He's just one of my favorite human beings. He's kind of like Tommy Tiernan. He's like a treasure. The world should treasure his brain.
He's a little opinionated, I find. I love him in the Golden Globes, and I love The Office, and I loved Extras. But I think a lot of the stuff that he's done by himself, he misses Merchant. I think he needs Steve Merchant.
Yeah, look, I got to give him leeway to be opinionated and do his thing because he keeps coming out with absolute gold. And I was a huge fan of his stand-up comedy as well. I don't know, there's something so... He makes this show is basically just a normal life. This guy's just living in a little town in England. And the characters in it.
I've seen actually the first two or three episodes, actually, now I think about it.
So that's my film, TV, or that's my TV film. So I've been taking on recommendations from so many people. Have you ever seen The Knowing? I think I texted you this, The Knowing by starring Nicolas Cage.
No.
I think we all need to watch that. I've such a horn for... I paused before I said horn there, but I said I'm going to say it. I've such a horn for shit class movies. You know, there's nothing better than them.
Shit, what other movies fall under that category?
Like Speed, would that be shit in class?
Speed, well done. Perfect example.
Yeah.
Anything with Keanu Reeves, to be fair.
Then Exercise, I've joined this thing that Johnny Murphy has set up, which is a charity run where you have to enter a team of X amount of people, and it's basically, I've got some Pat did some homework for me. It's organized by the PSA Academies for Feed the Heroes. We're doing a 5-kilometer run within your team. So we've got a team of myself, Flat, Marcus Horn, Mike Sherry, Mossy, Ronan O'Mahony, and Cathal Sheridan as our captain. And we have to do a 5-kilometer relay race and clock our time, and hopefully now we've got 3 front rows in there, which I'm pretty worried about, and I'm also so slow as a fucking funeral right now, so that's worrying, but it's for a good cause, and we're gonna have a few cans at the end of it. Yeah,
you got front rows,
doing the odd 5K.
Like Fla is not your typical front row. Who else? Marcus?
No, that's very true. He's going to be Mike Sherry.
Yeah, he'd be fit enough as well. He'd be grand. You got no Mike Rosses in there.
This is true. Horn's getting the butt of the jokes, but I bet you he'll be fitter than most of us. He's one of these douchebags that does his runs and then posts it on Facebook. And I'm calling spoof to so many 5Ks out there at the moment. There's like people running fucking marathon time 5Ks, or like Moses Kiptanui style shit. There's no way there's people like my barber. I'm calling bullshit on my barber. He hasn't ran in about 10 years and he's putting up 21 minutes for his 5Ks. He's definitely taking little pauses along the way and having a fag.
Oh yeah, is that the way you would cheat? Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought those were foolproof.
Then we got married on Friday. We renewed our vows.
Oh, yeah.
For
you going through a rough patch?
Charity work. We were, to be fair. No, we weren't. We're having a great time. We're having a great time, and it was brilliant. It was like doing something out of the ordinary that kind of mixed it up a little bit. And I was on a promise, you know. I put on our wedding dress for second part. I was thinking of doing that.
Yeah, please do.
I'll come back for part 2 with her wedding dress on. And so yeah, that was on Friday. We did that for Feed the Heroes again.
Geez, the heroes must be stuffed these days. They're getting fed flat out.
All right, okay, we've talked enough waffle. We've got loads of guests to get on. We've got 2 guests. We get Ultan Dillane on all the way. I think he might be in Galway, although he's a Kerry man. Let's get him on and see what he's up to. All right, we are joined by Ultan Dillane. Where in the world are you, and how is lockdown going?
I am in Galway, and lockdown is, yeah, it's livable at the moment, but getting quite boring.
Oh, you've got the most impressive set of headphones that we have had on. You're either flying a helicopter or you're working at a call center. I presume they're for gaming of some sort.
Yes, it's my computer gaming headset.
Right.
I'm one of those kind of nerds that's has to wear the over-ear things. I think a lot of us do actually.
So how many current rugby players are gaming every night of the week? I presume the majority of them.
Yeah, I'd say about half our squad probably be playing Fortnite anyway. That's the big game everyone seems to be playing. I only got joined the buzz about 3-4 weeks ago, and I'm hooked.
Oh, you're a
Sad to say.
beginner. You're a beginner. You're
Yeah,
learning,
yeah,
are
yeah,
you?
I'm atrocious, but it's just the
Really?
participation, the camaraderie,
Yeah.
counts.
Such a club man.
Yeah,
Is that a shooting game? You're just going around.
yeah, it's first person shooter, but you have to there's this whole other side of the game where you have to kind of build, which is strange, but so essentially you build forts. That's why it's called Fortnite. But yeah, it's just a fun team game, four in a team maximum, and you're trying to be the last team standing on this island of 100 people. It's
Oh,
It's
good crack.
Fortnite. I thought it was like a fortnight.
Yeah. Fortnite.
A fortnight. No,
it
it's
sounds
actually
slightly
fortnight.
more. It sounds slightly more wholesome than like myself and Barry's computer game generation would have been Street Fighter 2, Mortal
Street
Kombat,
Fighter, yeah.
Duck Hunt
and
is what I'm thinking.
Duck Hunt.
No, I play Street Fighter as well. Street Fighter 4 on the PlayStation.
There's 2 more versions. No way.
Yeah, they graphics pretty cool. It was real 2D back then, wasn't it? But,
yeah, tell me it's still the same. It's Chung Li and E Honda and Blanca.
Ryu and what's
Ken.
what's the demon
Guy.
guy? Akuma or something like that. Akuma or something like that.
He might
Can't
be
think of his
new.
name.
He must be new.
No. New signing.
Hey, new
signing.
guy.
Come here. Who's the
Balrog.
biggest nerd of all the rugby players? Who's the kind of champion of Fortnite? Who's sitting there with crumbs all over them all night, just like killing you all, slaying you?
I reckon, without a doubt, Bundy.
Is
Bundy
he?
Key, yeah.
Family man.
Family man.
I'm surprised.
He's for the cause of Fortnite. Yeah, he's donated a lot of hours into that. He's class. He's very good.
Good.
He's very.
What
very
about it was Call of Duty? I tried to get into Call of Duty. Is that died off? They don't do that anymore.
No, I think that's gone huge again. I'm not playing it. I'm glad to say I'm not playing all the games. But Call of Duty is quite big. They've a new game released, and I think there's some of the lads that are putting a lot of time into that as well. And Fortnite, it's there's not much to do these days.
No,
Are you isolating on yourself, on your own?
On myself. Yeah, there's it's myself, Dominic Robson McCoy, who's plays with me every evening, I'd say. My brother's here, and my girlfriend as well as Dom's girlfriend.
So nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Nice little crew here.
Nice mix.
Yeah. What does your brother do?
My brother's studying computer science
in Galway.
And and he's joined us with all the home training we've had to do. So he's gotten a good buzz about trying to be a pro with us for the last for the whole pandemic, So he's gotten a lot out of this.
Did he play rugby as well, or does he play rugby?
Yeah, he was. People back home would agree he was actually a lot better than me when I was younger, but and he was a center, but he did his cruciate when he was 19, and that kind of derailed his his hopes of rugby, because he wasn't quite in a setup with Munster at the time. So yeah, he had to let that go a bit earlier than I did.
Okay, so what's the training look like for you at the moment then? What are you doing?
We've had to. Our gym facilities pretty much has been divided among the whole squad. So luckily there's 2 of us here. So, and with my brother we can we can kind of spot each other, and we were given quite a lot of equipment to train at home. So there's no excuse for us to do anything in the gym really here. We've got a nice little prison yard set up, and otherwise we have to do getting running fitness is you kind of need to get creative because the pitches are closed. So it's nice to see those 5K challenges on Instagrams, to try to help people get out running and get donating.
Yeah, we were calling a bit of BS on some times there. What are you clocking for a 5K?
Oh, I'm atrocious. I actually haven't done one yet. I've done a few 2Ks though, but like trying to keep it rugby specific because I'm putting on a bit of weight in this during the pandemic. So I'd say running a 5K straight would be atrocious for me. I'm probably mid-20s. Wouldn't be great.
That's fine. Not bad, man. That's fine. Jesus. Yeah. So you've got 5 around you. I think there's talks of us maybe being able to allow 10 people into our lives. If you could add 5 more people to your group, who would you be adding?
It's you put me on the spot now. I haven't thought about that. Probably some of the boys because I haven't seen a lot of their faces in a while. So it'd be funny to just have a little big Zoom call here.
Yeah.
Very
political, very politician style answer.
Thank you.
The Pro 12 final from, what was that, 2016, was it? Connacht versus Leinster was on Saturday night, which I didn't watch it, but I watched it back last night, bits of it. I saw Owen McKeown tweeting that it was the first time he'd ever watched it.
Really.
Did you watch it for the first time, or had you watched it before?
No, I saw it. Jesus, sometime it feels like the golden days. I watched it the day after we won. So what had happened was we played, we won, we flew straight back from Edinburgh to Knock Airport. There was a crowd reception at like 2 a.m. There was I think it was like 2,500 people in Knock waiting for us at 2 a.m. We took all go up on this little stage and one by one, hold the trophy and all this and get a big cheer. It was class. And from there, the bus took us to Galway, where again from the drive to Knock, from Knock to Galway, there was like bonfires on the road randomly lit up.
No way.
And fans just waiting for the bus to pass. It was class.
But I'd be down to Sports Grind back in the day, like rewind 5 years, and you might have only had 2,000 people at the games, but Connacht Rugby just kind of kicked on loads, didn't it, in the time under Pat?
Oh yeah, it was huge. I mean, as well for me, I kind of got going with Connacht when Pat came. So yeah, and I remember I don't have too many memories of there not being much of a crowd unless it's a quiet game. But yeah, past year really kicked things off. It's pretty incredible what he got done in those few years.
Yeah, it was a bit of an end of an era as well. After beating Leinster, like you were just untouchable, and then you lost Ali Muldowney, AJ McGinty. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Pat, obviously.
I think Rodney,
Robbie,
George Naopu, Fionn Carr. There's a lot of players left, yeah. But yeah, no, it was some years. Just looking back, I actually watched the Connacht Munster game that year as well. It was like 2 or 3 games beforehand, and we were just winning games in pretty cool fashions that season. At home, it felt like we were untouchable. It was surreal. The 2 Glasgow games before that final, back to back at home, were pretty special as well. And I was saying to my girlfriend, I remember Finlay Beelan was celebrating after the final whistle on the bench, stood up on the bench, and the thing's like this small wooden bench that you could Google it, and he just falls straight off it, like standing up for the whole crowd on his back. It was brilliant.
He definitely thought he was doing the wrestler thing. He's obsessed with wrestling, isn't he?
Yeah. He just stood straight up like that, and I said, fall straight from under him.
Didn't he have
straight up like?
Didn't he create like a wrestler persona?
Yeah.
On YouTube. What was that again? I was trying to tell Barry about this before, and I couldn't remember.
He wants that to die down. That doesn't exist.
Perfect.
King Gleb. Yeah, he'll kill me for saying that now.
Gleb.
Keen Gleb. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
He
to
does look
see
like a token wrestler that they'll throw in, like that one of the more famous wrestlers can give a bait every once in a while.
Yeah, he loves wrestling. He's, Finley Big Flava Beelum, we call him.
Love it.
That'll be his name.
So you're a far cry from Tralee now, and I suppose you can't head back home much. An even further cry from Paris, where not a lot of people might know where you were born and spent the first 7 years. But then you swapped the Champs-Élysées for the Aquadome and moved.
Some swap by.
Yeah, what was that? What was that like?
Yeah, it was horrible at first because you were leaving everyone you knew in Paris. And I remember my best friend was my cousin at the time, who was born the same day as me in Paris. And I remember when we were leaving Paris and he was at our apartment, and it just felt like you were leaving your whole life at that age. But no, it was an unbelievable move, and we were so glad my mum decided to bring us home, because Tralee was brilliant. It was such a different change from the big city, thing of Paris, to the countryside where we had a big front and back garden. We had pets that almost a month after we got home, cats and dogs everywhere. It was unreal. It was class. That's really where our childhood kind of exploded at, So it was a great move. Love
and how long was it before you went to the Aquadome? Can you remember exactly? Was it
the Aquadome?
Have you been to the Aquadome yet?
I'm sure I went before we moved to Tralee, because I have memories of it from before I was 7. Yeah. So when we'd come over occasionally with my brother, and I had a French accent at the time, very little English, and we just go swim in the Aquadome with the wave pool for a couple of hours. It was class.
Trimby, you need to come down here in your holidays, and we'll go to the Aquadome.
Sounds like Waterworld in Portrush.
There you go. But it's the best ever. We were actually, I was on a Monster Zoom table quiz on Friday night, and Paul O'Connell was slagging Keith Earls that he would definitely come last. And he asked him, what did you once call the Champs-Élysées? Champs-Élysées. And he said, the John de Sleaze.
How'd you do that?
I don't know. And he did come last. You mentioned your mom, Ellen. Sorry, to bring this up. I know it's a very tragic thing that happened. Your mom passed away in 2018. I can't imagine how that has been for you and your brother. But can you talk us through how you're doing? Is it tough at times like this? I know she was a huge part in your life, obviously, and a major influence on your career.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, exactly as you expect, it was a very tough time. Yeah, it's at a time like this. I mean, it's over 2 years now, so I think it's that the time has healed, in a good way. And it's nice to have my brother here. I know she'd be happy to see the two of us
together,
and because we're actually enjoying each other's company. It's not like when we were younger, always fighting and hating each other. It's actually it's a symbiotic kind of relationship. But no, it's I guess home has become different because of that. I miss home, but I don't miss home for the same reasons I would a few years ago. It's just now it's more nice to be home and link up with family. But yeah, I guess it's not a saying for nothing. Time does heal all wounds, but she is definitely missed, and it's nice that my brother and I can talk about her in good ways, and reminisce about good stories and funny videos we found, and so yeah.
And she was a nurse, so I presume she'd have the sleeves rolled up and be stuck in at this time. And would you be kind of in touch with many of her colleagues from Tralee like that are living it at the moment?
Yeah, big time. Well, some of our friends would have retired by now, but yeah, they're all lovely. outgoing people who with great stories as well. And it's unfortunate because a bunch of our friends were. I linked up with them at the anniversary master in February or January even. No, February, sorry. About them coming up, a big gang of them coming up to a Connacht game some weekend at the end of this season, and put them up in some hotel, and just it'd be nice for them to come up and experience the Connacht game at home. So that's going to be put on hold until I guess the season gets back going, and it might suit them better. But that would have been nice. Otherwise, my brother and I are constantly saying that we need to try meet some of our friends and have food together, just because it'd be nice to catch up and just
few breakfast rolls and pints.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. And come here, you're involved in an animal welfare project at the moment called Modra. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah. Well, I became an ambassador for Modra around December time because I love animals and dogs have been a part of my life since I was young, I suppose. And it's just, I'm passionate, I suppose, about animal welfare and trying to highlight some of the issues around that animal charities could be facing at this time, especially amidst COVID-19. So charities like Modra, for instance, have 3 sources of income. That's charity shops, fundraising events, or donations. And with charity shops and events closed for the foreseeable future, they're completely reliant on donations at this time. So to keep doing their the good work that they do, such as working with COPE to help people directly affected by the COVID virus who might need help with their dogs. So any donation at all could be huge for them. Even something like a €5 a month donation through the Modra.ie website, you can trust it'll go to a good cause and they'll put it to good use.
Good man. Trimby's more into cats these days, but
love cats too. Love cats.
Yeah, me too.
I've been brainwashed.
Really?
We had dogs growing up.
Yeah, I've been working on them.
Not well, less so by you. You're brainwashing me into liking Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
My wife Anna loves cats.
Really?
And just has no time for dogs really.
Yeah.
You gotta love both. Anna, you need to work on Anna. You gotta love both, right?
They're just different, but they're both fun in different ways. They're
Exactly.
different animals.
Yeah. No, I'll need to. She has a jovial kind of almost like a defense mechanism to obviously a lot of people who grew up with dogs in their family, inevitably dogs don't last that long, so you might not have one dog your whole kind of childhood. Anyway, we had a tragic situation in our childhood where my one dog we had used to chase stones. My sister took this dog, Kerry, her name was, out for a walk and threw a stone, and the stone bounced onto the road, and the dog went after the stone. Dog died. Anyway, I told Anna this story, and we've never laughed about it, never slagged my sister about it. Anna was straight away like, why would you not slag your sister over that?
Oh God.
I had to beg and plead with her, please don't slag her.
That's heartbreaking.
So that's Anna's kind of
take on it.
That's her take to dogs, and then she's just fallen madly in love with this ginger cat that's not even ours.
Really, I love ginger cats though. I nearly feel ginger cats are the nicest cats. They're
just lovely.
I have one here somewhere, man.
Really?
You've put that ginger cat to one side. You probably don't even remember your cat's name, Barry, since the twins arrived. That cat's a second-class citizen.
Man. He's my one little kind of getaway from these twins. He's the only one that understands me.
Yeah.
But come here. While I have the 2E, Ultan, every week we've been kind of taking a movie, an album, and a game and reviewing them. And this week the game that we were reviewed was South Africa versus Ireland, first test, 2016. Ireland winning for the first time in
Cape
South
Town.
Africa.
Yeah.
Cape Town. Both of you were there. So why don't we just do that? We usually do this at the end, but we'll do it now at you. What's your memory going into that game? Were you confident? Like you were fairly depleted, right? Yeah, we'll go at you first. You were fairly depleted. They had I suppose they weren't in the best time of South African rugby. Did you sniff a chance to potentially make a bit of history?
I just remember Bestie before the tour. We had to do like media in Dublin, and he just brought me aside. He was like, "Oh man, if we win one test in South Africa in Cape Town, we just lose our minds." And like the motivation that just flowed through me to do my best to win for the team. That was some game. Well, it was 13 men, wasn't it?
We
CJ
lost
13 men for the last 10 minutes of the first half. You were down to 13 men. And not only did they not score in that 10 minutes, but you scored a drop goal. And then like 2 minutes into the second half, Conor Murray scored. So for them, I think that was a huge moment for me, that it was 2 minutes, a few minutes into the second half, and not only were we ahead, but they didn't score at all in that period. Do you think that was, Trimby, was that a kind of a huge moment for you to come out of that difficult 15-minute patch?
Yeah, I think so. Watching it back, CJ's red. By 2020 standards, it probably looks slightly redder.
Yeah.
I'd say at the time I was like, geez, I don't know about that, because he was in the air, like obviously he can't change his body position.
Yeah.
But Pat Lammy kicked it, and then he took off, targeting his chin with his
messed him up, like
Oh man, Patrick Lammy, I think he took a while to recover from that.
Yeah, it was rough.
Did he? Yeah.
And the crowd turned so bad on CJ. It was
sad for CJ, because he was like, it was a big moment for him, obviously playing in South Africa. It was a big moment also, whatever about Ultan, how up for the game we were. CJ's dad was up for the game. I bumped into him in reception, and CJ introduced me, and his dad goes, "I swear we're going to fuck them up today." From a South African talking about us doing that for the Springboks. I was like, he is massively up for this game. I should have played him instead.
That was some game though.
It was an unbelievable game, lads. What a game to watch.
The last play was huge as well, wasn't it?
Peterson
getting tackled and touched by.
What was he doing? To be fair, he should have scored that.
He was good. He played well though. To be fair, like JP Peterson, yeah, he went well. They just kept dropping the ball.
Strangest corner flag attempt finish I've ever seen, man. He could have just dove into the corner, but he kind of aimed at a player and tried to bowl him over with the ball. I think he just absolutely had a brain. I think he rattled him, man. He rattled him early, like as bad as CJ's, had gone down to 14 men, I think, and then Robbie nearly taking the head off Yankees as well. They were like, Jesus Christ, these guys are vicious. Yeah, Ultan, when you came on, you had some serious carries. Conor Murray, people say that the All Blacks game in Chicago was Murray's best game. I reckon this was his best game. He was phenomenal. Because he had to play like an extra back rower, right? Because you're down a man and making serious cover defensive tackles, but making big shots as well. And I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at times like that, when you go down to the 13 men, the game plan goes out the window a little bit, right? So it's kind of, you're playing a bit more instinctively. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think so. A little bit. So obviously I had to go into the scrum, which I had a clue what I was doing. And I don't know if you noticed at every scrum, because Joe is so obsessed with patterns and where you have to be and what rock you have to be at. I was like, he's not going to let me off the hook here just because. No. So I remember before every scrum, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like chatting to Jamie the whole time. Where am I supposed to go here? What rock am I supposed to be in? And then I didn't know how many rocks I should do before then I could go back into the backs. So I was a nervous wreck the whole game.
Jesus,
yeah. But one thing that I remember, and I don't think you quite get it on TV, is just how amazing Newlands is. It's an unbelievable
savage.
stadium. It's so cool. It's so unique.
Because it has tiers, right? So it's not just a straight back stadium. So even like the highest tier, they're still quite on top of you. Is that right?
Yeah. It looks like an apartment block. It looks like just block after block, and it's just straight up, and it's amazing. It's an amazing place to play rugby. And I was thinking, Barry, if we get to go to the Lions next year, we've got to go to Newlands. And
100%.
Pat, listen, if you're listening here, Pat, you can come with us if you want, but we're definitely going.
We're going.
Yep. Yeah, someplace.
I presume there was
that tour.
Sorry.
I remember. Obviously, that was a big moment. It was a shame that we didn't back it up. Ultan, like we were beaten in Johannesburg the following week, and then just I don't know, like the altitude and the fitness, whatever.
Drew and Combrink when he came on was insane.
The destroyer, or what do you call him? He called himself the Punisher.
Yeah, what the
hell,
man?
Yeah.
He was incredible.
He was class, wasn't he? Yeah.
Like, and we kind of weren't prepared for him. Was the other thing? We kind of they were on the profiles because we had to study players before the game, but like we didn't think he was going to be that good.
No, I know. I don't like he's I don't know much about him, but it was only afterwards we heard this guy rates himself like he's the sort of fella. I think he christened himself the Punisher. He just changed the game, and then we went to Port Elizabeth, and then we couldn't get a win there either. But that tour was amazing. I really enjoyed it. It's probably my favorite tour. And one of my lasting memories. Yeah. One of my memories of that tour was 2 years before we'd been in Argentina, and we came back from a night out. Myself, Rory, Chris Henry, and Hendy, and we were just like. We were just wrestling in the bedroom for like 40 minutes. We were all exhausted, sweat pissing off us. And then I think Handy just remembers how much crack that was. We came in after the night out in Port Elizabeth, came back into the room. I was just getting a wee bit sleepy. I wasn't really up.
I went in that room actually.
Oh, you were there?
And I turned up in the morning and there was a bunch of you there.
Yeah. So we went in and
still going.
I was like, I'm not really up for a wrestle, Handy. And he was trying to get me in the mood. So we just threw this chair, and I was lying in the bed on my back nearly asleep. He threw this chair and it just rattled off my shins. And he thought then that would get me up for it and get me wrestling. But it had the opposite effect. I was like, Henry, that was really sore. Why did you do that? I'm going to sleep. So that was it. But it was a night. I think Henry had grand plans for that night, just to wrestle off into the sunset. And none of us could be arsed.
It was some tour though. It was class. Did you do was it Cape Town where we went shark diving?
Oh, that was amazing.
That was unbelievable. We got the plan was to go out to the cages, out to sea and get in cages, see some grey whites, and then I think it was Tig or Jamie Heaslip who were like, what about helicopter rides? Can we not just get like the helicopter rides to the sharks and then go on the shark, like this pure luxury trip? And we're like, that's gonna cost an insane amount of money. We're like, but then they figured out, just toss in our per day allowance, put it into the subsidize the helicopter rides, 2 birds, 1 stone type of a thing, and it was insane. It was ridiculous.
So you actually did that? You flew the helicopter down to? Yeah, I know. Unreal. I've been there. Yeah, it
saved us an hour and a half on the bus. I think it was to get to the shark, to get to the boat. So it was this 20-30 minute helicopter. Like we had a stunt pilot in our helicopter, and he was doing all these inverted flips and like swimming just above the sea. It was crazy. And then like it was like being on an amusement park ride for 30 minutes, and then you get to the shark dive, and then it gets better again from there.
You could see the sharks as the helicopter was going along the coast. You could see the sharks
way.
swimming out behind the surf.
Yeah, that was a luxury for sure. It was class.
Great tour.
Yeah. Well, look, you never know. We might make it down there next summer, and then Ultan, that could be. Would you think the Lions is the target for you? Start with Connacht first, Ireland.
Yeah, Connacht first, Ireland, and that's always the dream. So yeah, that's that's goal. That's the highest goal for sure.
Cool. Well, with fingers crossed for you, man. We'll let you get back to gaming in the meantime. Thanks a million for joining us. We really appreciate it. And where can we get in touch with Madra, and where can people donate if they want to?
I suppose if you follow Modra on Instagram, you can see any of their updates, any of the dogs they'd like to rehome or even temporary home to help them out, because they do have a lot of dogs. But any donations would be hugely appreciated on Modra.ie website.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, man. Look
Thanks
after
for
yourself.
nothing.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
buddy.
Thank you. Cheers, lads.
Okay, we are delighted to be joined by Australian and former Wallaby star Drew Mitchell. Drew, I'm going to embarrass you now for a second. 71 caps for Wallabies, 10 seasons of Super Rugby, 2 European Cups, top 14 with Toulon, and a highlight reel that I would highly recommend anyone watching. Does that all sound accurate?
Oh, look, yeah, that's yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's nothing more I can do anymore. I guess it's that's one of those things, mate. When you retire, that's nothing gets added to those things. So let's just run with that.
Yeah. Well, look, I loved watching that YouTube clip, man. There's some brilliant tries, and the career goes back a long time, so some great memories there. But where are you now in the world, and what's lockdown looking like for you?
Mate, I'm in Sydney, Australia. I'm actually not too far from, I guess, what was a bit of a hub of this coronavirus, unfortunately, here in Sydney, which is Bondi Beach is pretty much the suburb over from where I am. So obviously we got a lot of backpackers, a lot of tourists, and that type of thing, which meant that there was, at least at the beginning, there was quite a few cases of it. So it was all about just just locking yourself up and isolating, and for me, isolation is solo isolation. I'm on my own here, so you know what, it can be tough, and it has been tough at times. But speaking to some other people like on the phone and whatnot, I think there's no one's got a perfect case scenario. I mean, sometimes guys with their loving wives and partners and kids, sometimes they get on their nerves and they wish that they were in my position. And there are times
baggage.
And there's probably times where maybe I wish that maybe I was with their wives or their kids. No, I'm kidding. But
anybody's wife in particular?
Well, look, let's just see how far we get in the chat. I might name a few.
Perfect. Wow, solo isolation, man. That's intense. What are your days looking like? I saw on Instagram you're getting a bit creative. You've done a little bit of painting.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think for me it's more about just keeping as stimulated as you possibly can. And look, by no means do I think that, or do I think that every day is going to be a good one. I think that can be a trap that we can all fall in, that every day is going to get progressively better than the one before. And I think if we think that, then that's when you sort of allow yourself to get down, perhaps even more than you would have otherwise. So yeah, I mean, like anyone, I think you have good days and you have some days that aren't so good, and I think for me it comes down to just I guess the motivation and the discipline to commit to different things and routine. I mean, we hear it spoken about so much during these times, is about the importance of having routine, the importance of staying active, all those things. But the reality of it is you're just not going to feel like doing it every day. So the times where I find I can get myself up and train early, I usually have a much more productive day than those other times where I sort of stay in bed and find myself getting up around sort of 11:30 in the morning. So that just means then that nothing's productive throughout the rest of the day. But I try not to worry about having those days, because I think it's part and parcel of the current world that we live in.
Wow. So have you been a painter before, or
No.
is this a new thing?
No.
I've seen a painting you did on Instagram of Joan Lomu. Was that your first ever painting?
Yeah, that was my first ever. So look, if I'm being honest, it's my first completed piece. I was doing another piece of basically the face of COVID-19. Barry, I'm sure you've also seen memes of Big Bad Barry, but I didn't feel like I could post that one on social, so I changed it up and painted Jonah Lomu instead. I'm sure you guys know Barry. Anyone who's in a WhatsApp group with a bunch of mates would have seen that gentleman. So I thought I could maybe.
You did paint him.
Well, look, I've done the silhouette so far, but I thought maybe if I wanted to start showing people that I'm painting, I probably shouldn't go through with that one.
Oh, that is great. Now that is creative, man. That's very creative. I would love to see that.
Yeah, well, it's in the making. It's in the making.
I'd love something like that on my mantelpiece. To be honest with you, I don't know if my wife would agree to it, but
Well, you know, the other unfortunate thing is I got a gift from a friend of mine from school. You know, we've been mates for 20 odd years or something, and I got this gift in the mail, and it was a puzzle, like it was a box of puzzle pieces, and an A4 piece of paper with the photo of what it's going to be, and yeah, it's Big Bad Barry. But so that's spread across my living room sort of bench top in the kitchen there. But as you can imagine, those pictures, there's not too much variation, so all the pieces look pretty similar. It's a difficult one.
That's true. That's a tough one.
Yeah. I didn't think the conversation was going to go down this path, fellas, but why not, eh?
I know. This is where we like to go. So you, as you said, you're not far from Bondi Beach. How were the Irish behaving for the first few weeks of lockdown on Bondi Beach? Was it hard to get them in?
Yeah, look, it was difficult.
Clipping them around the back of the head.
Yeah,
Get in,
Well, it was more
Irish.
just difficult getting them out of the pub more than getting them off the beach. You know, I mean, their fair skin doesn't fare too well out on the beach for too long. So, but look, I think initially it took us a while because I just think that people probably didn't take it as seriously as perhaps we should have, because it was pretty much the point that turned our government to say complete lockdown, everyone's got to stay in isolation was one really, you know, quite a nice afternoon, you know, weather-wise, and Bondi Beach was just packed with tens of thousands of people, obviously not taking it seriously enough. So that was almost like the final straw for our government, and they said, okay, from this point on, it's lockdown, and things have started to get a lot better, and they towards the sort of middle of last week, they started to relax the laws and start to allow people to go to swim at the beaches, but more just for activity and exercise. But then again, we abused it. Within one afternoon, they shut it all back down again. So I just think, look, they've just got to lock us up for another month or so until we're well and truly clear. Because I think, you know, like allowing people to kind of get out and start to socialise and start to sort of, you know, get amongst the community again, and then withdraw them from that again and pull them back away. I think would just be a tough one for people to accept. So I think while we're in it, we all understand it. We're getting by. So let's just stay in it for, you know, as long as we have to make sure we're completely past it. So that the time that we do get to go outside and live the lives that we I guess that we once remembered, that we don't have to come back into this.
Trimby is in the UK, obviously up north here, and they're potentially going to allow people to see up to 10 people. You know, I suppose have a group of 10 people you can see more frequently. Is there talks of that coming in over there as well?
Not quite at this stage. You know, there's a couple of rugby league boys, well-known rugby league boys, that just got in trouble over the weekend because they were, you know, pretty much having the same sort of thing, a barbecue with 10 of their, you know, their closest, friends and family, I suppose. But they posted on social media, and now the police have investigated them and fined them. And so I still think we're probably a little bit away from that. And yeah, I mean, look, it's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. I just think, look, we're in it now. Until we really know that we're past it, let's just stay in it. And you know, I think the hardest times are behind us. You know, it's those initial few weeks, like really adapting to it, getting your head around that this is our normal, and you know, and understanding that you can't go and catch up with friends and family, or you can't go to the gym, or whatever it might be. You know, that we're doing it for something greater than just yourself. You know, like if we all just sort of stick to it, then and stick to it for as long as we have to, then you know, we won't have to find ourselves back in this position anytime soon. But yeah, I still think we're probably a little way from you know, sort of gatherings like that.
And then you've already signed for Rugby New York, Rugby United, is that it?
Yeah, that's right, mate.
So is that obviously put on hold for the time being, but you're hoping to get over there sooner rather than later? Yeah,
look, I hadn't considered playing again, to be honest. Like it's been almost 3 years now since I played my last match, and it just around sort of it was actually the week of the World Cup final. I was up doing some work up in Japan, and they reached out saying, "Look, are you interested?" And of course, you know, New York. I mean, as I said, I'm still by myself. I don't have a partner I have to consider and to weigh into these decisions. I don't have kids, so it's a pretty easy one for me to make. I grew up in an army family where I moved around a lot, which was then, I guess, in some ways paralleled in my career where I moved around quite a lot as well. So change is something I'm pretty comfortable with, and new challenges. But I mean, it's just one of the great cities of the world, and to be able to go up there and play rugby again, just seemed like too good of an opportunity to say no to. And so I started training to try and get back into some type of shape. And varying degrees of success. I mean, depends on who you ask, I suppose. But
you've got a decent little training group together. I saw with Adam Ashley Cooper and Matt Giddo.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, Gitz, when he pops up to Sydney, he's based in Canberra now. But when he pops up to Sydney, we jump down to the Oval and work out a bit. Adam Ashley Cooper, because he was signed to play for the Austin Gilgronis. So he and I were we're pretty much at the same point. Yeah, I know. We were at the same point in terms of training. So, we started to sort of punch out a few sessions. But I got my visa; it was all approved, and then pretty much, and I lodged I sent an email to my real estate agent asking to break the lease, and then a few days later I had to email again to rescind my request because I guess coronavirus happened and lockdowns happened.
So you're looking forward to catching up with Bastro again. I would keep in touch with James Kennedy, an Irish guy from Limerick. And he was telling me the negotiation process for Bastro was basically Bastro DMing him on Instagram. Emoji of the Statue of Liberty and question mark, and that was it. And he was like, yeah.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, Buster's a man of few English words, so look, and he's someone as well. I mean, he's from Paris, so he's from the big city. Moved down to Toulon, which is quite the opposite, really. So I'm sure he would have been, I guess, lured by, the big city vibes of New York, and his partner. He's got a little one that they took up there as well. And I'm not too sure if he's around for next season or if he's back to Lyon, but I'm hoping there's going to be at least a little bit of crossover there. And I had some great years at Toulon with Buster, and I used to sit on the seat just in front of him. He was always in the back right corner of the bus, as you could imagine. And all he would do, honestly, would sit there with his iPad. We'd all be playing, so there's an 8-person table of poker going on every trip that we were on. But Buster was just behind watching Dragon Ball Z or something, like one of these cartoon animated games. Oh, not games, like cartoons. And he would just lean forward and just flick my ear for about 8 hours. Just so he just watched his thing just like this and just flick my ear. So I got to know Buster pretty well. So I hope that there is some crossover.
And then there's Nonu. Is Nonu still? He's in San Diego as well.
Geez, it'd be good to be able to play a few more games with him.
No.
Yeah. So he's in San Diego. I'm not too thrilled about playing against him. I thought those days were behind me. The last time I played him was, the World Cup final in 2015, and from that moment on, I'd really only played alongside him, and that's how I liked it. So I don't know. Maybe if I'm playing against San Diego, I might have.
Where'd you say Ashley Cooper? Where's he signed?
Or maybe just a bit of a cork for that game, and might give that one a miss.
Yeah.
Well, he was going to Austin, but yeah. So I'm not too sure if it was for next year or not. I think he's still sort of undecided as well. Like he's just got a little 5-month-old boy as well, and he's just weighing up whether he goes there. And I know that the owner of Austin also owns the new LA franchise that'll come in, I think, next year. So it might mean that, I don't know, maybe he pops up in LA. He's probably a bit more suited to LA than Austin. So I don't know, but I think he's. Look, I think the thing is for people like myself, like the lure of just going and playing in a new competition that's starting, that's it's got quite a lot of excitement behind it. A lot of people are interested in it, and not just I guess people, but corporations and TVs and that type of thing. They're pretty interested in how this thing goes. So I guess the opportunity to be involved in the early stages of it is one that really appeals to me, and knowing Adam like I do, it appeals to him as well. And speaking to guys like Ma, and Paddy Ryan, a former Waratahs prop that I played with, he was also at San Diego for a number of years, and a few other guys up there, like they can't speak highly enough of it. So, and each year it's just going to get better and better, and I'm hoping before it gets too quick and too brutal.
You look like you were handling okay. You
a
played
little
in
bit
a
of
game.
time, and then,
I don't know what the context was. You were mic'd up, and the commentators were abusing you, and you put a hit on Radiki Samo as well. Yeah, he got in his way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh look, I don't know if it was a hit necessarily, but look, he's a big fella. I mean, look, there's a game of sevens, against the Fijian boys, and I remember standing. I remember standing in the tunnel. We were just about to do the toss, and Radiki was the captain of their team, and we were standing alongside these Fijian boys, and I lost. Oh, sorry, I won the toss, and he said, "What would you like to do, kick or receive?" And I said, "We'd like to forfeit." So we tried to forfeit right at the start just by looking at these guys, but they weren't having any of it, so we had to go out there. And I mean, look, I think for me, mate, I was never one that trained. I didn't really enjoy training. I was never sort of the one that was out there for hours on end doing extras and things like that. Like I definitely did enough to get myself prepared, but I wasn't the one that was like. And I'm still not the type of guy that gets really excited about training and that type of thing. I'll do what I have to, won't do more. And anyone that I've played with will attest that I would whinge a fair bit. I would always say to my teammates that like whinging pays, because especially with these strength and conditioning coaches, like they're so worried about people getting soft tissue injuries like hamstring tears and stuff. So I just keep saying, I'll just keep going until you tear something, and you just plant a seed in the S&C coach's head, and all of a sudden a set of 6 would be cut down to a set of 5, and then all the teammates are coming up going, "Oh, thanks for shaving off a set for us." So in terms of training post-retirement, I found myself in this sort of position where I'm like one that I'd never been in. I'd never been to a public gym before. I'd never trained in an environment where there were females either, because I went to an all-boys school, straight into rugby gym. So, walking into, Fitness First here at Bondi Junction, which is basically the Instagram like heaven for everyone, right? Like no one's even lifting, they're all just like capturing content, and there's all these women around, and there's other guys that kind of like, it would just sort of baffle me how they could be in there for 90 minutes and not walk out sweating. I just couldn't get my head around it. And then I'd find myself as well just sort of going in there, ticking some boxes, because I didn't have like the motivation of getting, trying to get the jersey that meant something to me, not letting my teammates down. Obviously it was my job, and getting myself prepared for a game. So I didn't have those motivations, so I had to find something else. And, for the first year, I basically committed to doing the New York Marathon. But I'm, again, like you can imagine someone who doesn't like training committing to doing long-distance running, who I'm not, I'm just not a long-distance runner by any means. But it just meant that I committed to something for a long period of time out, so that I was kind of accountable for it. And, sometimes when I'd be out on the drink on my Instagram and I'd post something on the stories or something, someone would inbox me saying, "Oh, how's that marathon training going?" So I'd get the guilt, and the next morning I'd get up and I'd go for a run and whatever. Because I think the other part of that was, trying to raise money for charity as well. Like you can't sort of promote that you're going to do it and then cower out of it. So little things like that. I think just finding new ways to motivate yourself and finding ways to kind of stay active, but then also understanding the importance of being active and staying active has with like your mental health and your productivity and all that sort of stuff. I think, when you go pretty much from school into a professional environment, you don't necessarily understand the importance that those sort of things have on other areas of your life. So, those were things that I was learning at 33, 34 years old, and, and to be fair, still learning as well.
And with I suppose people moving on from playing rugby, right? More naturally, players will go into coaching and, whether it's S&C or whether it's rugby coaching or analytics. The way you're talking there doesn't seem like you'd be that inclined, but I've heard you talk quite passionately about the organisation and the business side of rugby. Is that something that interests you, especially going to the States, which will probably be a lot more opportunity for that kind of stuff in that growing league?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, look, I don't think I would like to be a coach. I mean, the amount of hours that coaches put in is just
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, they're there for as many hours as players are, but they've got to sort of work out what the sessions are going to be, do all the video and the footage, and there's just so much of it. And I also just think, lifestyle wise, there's no real long term coaches in rugby. I mean, we've got 4 or 5 professional teams here in Australia that you can be a head coach for example. But you don't see coaches really stay around for longer than 2 to 4 years at a max, and then that means you're taking your family perhaps internationally somewhere else. Like, it's just, I don't know. For me, maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, thinking that far ahead in terms of like getting one of those jobs in the first place. But that type of lifestyle, having done that for a long period of time as a player, didn't really appeal to me. But as I spent so many more years, as a player in and around the organisation and start to understand, the impact of the marketing and the engagement with the community and all these different sort of facets of what actually makes an organisation, a rugby team work, I think you sort of start to get a bit of an understanding of some of those areas and also start to formulate your own sort of ideas and opinions around it. And, and one thing that we're also really exposed to as athletes and professional players is good communicators. I just think, in some of my experiences post footy, things could just be done so much more effectively and efficiently if people were just were just honest. And I think maybe it's because the environments that we were in for so long is you got immediate critical feedback, but quite blunt as well, like quite personal, quite blunt in front of other people. It was from your coaches in a team meeting. It was from your peers, sometimes like in the moment on the field, and you had to remove emotion from it. You had to, you got those, you got called out in a team meeting and you couldn't be emotional about it. It was just like, okay, that's what I did. This is what I was thinking at the time. And you accept responsibility and you work out a solution as to how you get past that. And I think and then just outside of that, there's also commentary. Commentators would basically give feedback to others, journalists, and then now everyone on social media as well. So I think in some ways, we're really we're really comfortable in receiving feedback and perhaps giving it. But what I've also started to learn as well is there's a way to deliver it outside of rugby as well. I mean, because people aren't necessarily as comfortable receiving some pretty blunt feedback as perhaps I would be. You have to be obviously pretty sensitive around that. Not everyone's going to be the same and receives it the same or can deliver it the same. So all those little things, I think that at the time you probably don't know that it's setting you up, for skills and different things for life after footy. But then once you're sort of in this situation, you can really see where some things that you've learned as a player can really transfer into the real world, whether that be in the business corporate side of things, or if you go down sort of to the coaching analytics side of stuff as well.
With that in mind, there's not a lot of rugby going on in the world at the moment, but and I don't think a lot of Irish people will be aware of what's going on in Australia with Raylene Castle, the CEO, recently stepping down, and a group of former captains Wallaby captains have set up I don't know, was it a focus group or some sort of a group that have, I suppose, to lend their weight in behind what direction the RU should go in. What are your thoughts on where, I suppose, the current state of Australian rugby and what direction would you like to see it going?
Look, I mean, I think, it's pretty easy to see at the moment that, it's pretty divided, I think, in Rugby Australia at the moment, and has been for a little while. Unfortunately, we've been going through too many different issues off the field. Also, at the same time, not getting the results that we've wanted on the field as well. So kind of almost it's the last 18 to 24 months, everything's been pretty negative around any sort of dialogue or commentary on rugby in Australia. And we're in a really competitive market with, rugby league, Aussie rules, soccer, and cricket as well in our summer sports. So it's difficult for us as a sport, when we are the fourth football code in Australia, and everything that we're hearing at the moment, and certainly in the I guess the most recent history is all been negative. whether it been the comments around, the Israel Folau made and how long that was drawn out for, and then the issues, at the World Cup when we had a selection panel with Scott Johnson come in, and how Michael Checker and Raylene Castle didn't see eye to eye, and then now the TV rights stuff, and then this letter from former captains effectively pushing Raylene Castle out. Like, that's what they called for, and then 2 days later, she handed in a resignation. So, look, I was disappointed with how that happened. I think those players, I've got a great level of respect for each and every one of them, but I think what they tried to do was show leadership, and I think the opposite happened. They were unhappy with how things were going with the current leadership of Rugby Australia, Raylene Castle included, and so they basically just wrote a letter calling for her to resign or for her to be moved on. But in that letter, there weren't too many solutions. There weren't too many ideas about how Rugby Australia should move forward, and other than just get rid of her. I just think as well, like going back to what we were talking about before as a player, I just think that any one of those 11 captains in their time as a captain of the Wallabies, if there had been a collection of players in their team that weren't happy with the captaincy or his leadership, the coach, or the game plan, had that collection of players just written a letter and gone to the media to deal with it, I don't think those captains would have been particularly happy with it. Those types of things need to be dealt with in-house, inside closed doors, with just those ears. Nothing needs. I think the moment you get to a point where you need to leak things to the media, I don't think you have a really strong case, or the case is not necessarily for the best intentions. So I think I would have liked, perhaps it's hindsight now, but I would have liked to have seen them go into Rugby Australia and say, look, this is the expertise, this is the leadership, this is the ideas that we can offer you. We're here to give it to you. If you choose to take it, then great. And if not, then perhaps look at other ways. But again, it's my understanding that didn't happen until now. Obviously, they're meeting with Paul McLean, the interim sort of president of the board, to discuss what it is. But I just think, there's a lot of chat in our media here about Raylene Castle and the bullying that she's copped, and the unfair sort of scrutiny that she's been placed under. Look, I'm not in a position to judge whether she's been good at her job or not. Like, I'm not smart enough for that. There are people that are above my pay grade to make those decisions, so I won't factor into that. I just think that the optics of it all just look really bad. And again, in a time where our game's been in the press for too long for the wrong reasons, I just think we just added another reason for people to think badly about our game. And it just, as I said, the optics just weren't great.
Yeah. Timing wise isn't great as well, is it? Like at this, it's, I suppose she's probably done quite a lot of work, and with everything going on at the moment, it's I don't know, it just seemed a bit weird. It seemed a bit weird when I saw it.
Well, from all my understanding is that they were pretty far down the line with TV rights deals and signing. So again, this is just from what I've heard, they're perhaps a week away from signing with Optus to be the new broadcaster. And then obviously COVID-19 happened and things got put on hold. And excuse me, now I've read something today that Optus aren't in a position really to jump back into those contract negotiations at least for another 12 months or so. So again, it's just some of it is unfortunate timing. Some of it can't. It wouldn't have mattered who the CEO was. No one was to predict this pandemic and the impact that it was going to have on not just rugby, but economies and all sorts of things around the world. So some of it is unfortunate. Some of it's also bad timing. But again, we've just got to make sure that we move forward, but we just got to get together and make sure that the game kind of goes in the right direction and we're not getting pulled in different directions from different people.
On a positive note, I suppose Dave Rennie moving in, he's done some huge things with Glasgow up here, and he's got a lot of respect in the game. Is there a lot of excitement with him? I know there's a lot of players that have moved on in the last 6 months since the World Cup. A lot of players going overseas. Yeah. Some people hanging up their boots for the last time. Is there a lot of exciting young players in Australia that we can look forward to seeing under David Rennie? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, look, there's been a little bit of chat, if I'm being honest, about now that Raylene Castle's gone, will Dave Rennie go? Obviously, both are Kiwis, and apparently Raylene had a big part in in him signing with the Wallabies. So we're hoping that he still goes through with it, and he is our coach because like you say, he's got some genuine runs on the board, and everyone's looking forward to what he can bring and the style of rugby that that our guys are going to play in the gold jersey. So, as you mentioned, there's a few guys that have moved on. I think that there was just recently a player of interest list released. So there's some notable omissions on that. It certainly doesn't mean to say that they won't be sort of considered at some point, but in the first sort of 6 rounds of Super Rugby, some players put their hands up more than others. And the good thing is our under-20 program last year and the last couple of years have been going quite strong. Under-20s lost the World Cup final against France over in Argentina. We beat the Junior All Blacks in the Oceania series before that. So there's some good young guys coming through. But again, it's it's just about sort of managing those players. Back when sort of I started, same as you, Trims, it would have been, when I was in my first squad, I was one of maybe 2 young guys, 20 to 23-year-olds, and there was a lot of senior players around that really sort of molded the team and the culture. Now it seems across the world the age has almost shifted. There's only sort of 2 or 3 older guys, 28 and above. So there's been a real shift in terms, and that could be because of physique and players' capabilities physically, or it could just be, a change of mindset and mentality. Certainly down here in the Southern Hemisphere, once you're 28, 29, you're sort of almost tagged as an old guy. Whereas, when I went to Toulon, it was Toulon, we were all pretty old, so it was a bit different. But yeah. I think they're not opposed to sort of, seeing players really play out their careers and for as long as it is that their bodies allow them to, rather than sort of look at their age and just say, it's time to move you on. So, but there are some really good players coming through. But yeah, it's just about sort of nursing them and managing them through these early years, because, whilst they might be capable physically, it's also the mental side of things.
Yeah,
we've got to make sure these
for
guys
young
don't
people,
lose
like
confidence if they're thrown in
young
too
fellas coming
early,
through, if they've got no
or
one
just
to
sort of
look up
rugby
to,
house
like
as well, we've got to really harness that.
the likes of the role of Johnny Sexton in Leinster, for example, you can see it. He creates a tone, and then all the young fellas coming through, if they didn't have that, then they would kind of be looking to each other and they'd be kind of scrambling for leadership. But if you've got someone there like Johnny, he just leads the way. It's depressing enough now. Whenever I finished, we had a really poor season on and off the pitch, loads of turmoil. They got rid of me, they got rid of Tommy, they got rid of Chris Henry, and it was just the perfect balance, getting rid of the dead wood. So it was pretty like there's a balance to be struck, and we got it wrong my final year, and then they got it right. So it's just about getting that balance of young fellas, and then just having that role model to look up to.
Yeah, that's it, mate. And it's also the type of senior player as well. Some are better at harnessing and really nurturing those younger guys, and some are sort of just better at sort of staying within and just taking care of their own game and that type of thing as well. It just depends on the character of the person and how much they're equipped and willing to kind of give to some of the young guys. And it's about being able to bounce back. Not every game, it's almost like today. We're talking about. Not every day is going to get better than the next. It's the same as your game. You're not going to. Every game that you play is not going to be better than the one from before. It just doesn't go that way. But it's about how you can sort of accept that, take away the good, learn from the bad, and sort of almost shelve it and park it. Because the more you hang on to those things, the more likely that the next performance is going to be a negative one.
Did either of you come across each other much?
Against you
guys? I
guys.
suppose you would both have had to come across each other. Did you play against each other
2005?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What year was that?
When was that?
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that was my first year as well. Mine was in July, I think, in 2005 here in Oz before.
Yeah.
In the July test before we went up to, or June.
No, I was playing 13. That was the autumn after Drico got ditched in the Lions.
Did you mark each other? Can you remember?
Yeah, so I was playing 13. Yeah, exactly. Against Takiri was 13.
Right,
You must have been in the wing.
So you
you
took
and Mark
advantage.
Gerrard, maybe. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, perhaps. And then I think Latho at fullback. Was that at Lansdowne Park, Lansdowne Road or something? Yeah. I enjoyed playing there because I think that might have been.
We were a croak then for 2007, so it must have been maybe one more year. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have been 2005 would have been
Politics.
the last one. Yeah, because 2006 I didn't get picked for the Wallabies the whole season, so I had a pretty lean year. I got 10 in my first year, and then I think that lack of training kind of caught up on me, and I got no test in the second year of my career. But
I think I played you in an A match in Thomond Park.
Okay.
Were you playing in that game?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
I think that was 2006.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's pretty much all I got out on in 2006 was the A games.
A dirty Tuesday night in Limerick.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember that. I remember. Yeah. No, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only couple of things I remember from the game at Lansdowne Road was, and we were back and forth on Twitter about this, but my kind of fake dive whenever I realised you were too fast. Oh yes, the length of the field one.
Yeah, I did that against Chris. I did that against Chris Ashton as well.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I feel like I get unfairly judged on that. I came from the right side, come across, and then I had to turn and burn. And but yeah, look, I remember that game in 2005. I was wearing a long sleeve, like undergarment, like a skins top or whatever, in the first half, and I remember going into half time, and Eddie Jones wasn't a very happy camper at that point, and he goes, "Drew, are you even fucking out on the field, mate?" And I went, "Oh." Like what do you say to that? And he goes, "It's because you got fucking long sleeves on, mate. No one's ever played a good game with long sleeves on." And so I reluctantly went in because I'm out in the wing. I get cold out there, so that's why I had the long sleever on. But I reluctantly went in and I took the long sleever off, and I scored 2 tries in the second half. And he comes up to me after the game and he goes, "See, mate, fucking long sleeves, they don't work." And I'm like, yeah. So I kind of I know. I guess I made
like you weren't doing a whole pile, and you were wearing a pair of like high top Under Armours. They must have gone up to your knees, like these massive boots.
Yeah. Yeah, I wore them out as well after the game. But no, I was wearing them at just training because it's a bit of a bit sludgy in at our training centre, and then the boys are just like, "Mate, give them a go on the game," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever, whatever, yeah, I'll do it.
Do what you want and
do it." Well, mate, like in the Heineken Cup final against the Saracens, I got these like, when those yellow Nikes came out where they had like the knitted sock. Like that was like sort of the first year that they came out. Well, I got a pair of those the night before the game, but they were a full size too big for me.
So you said you're going to wear them, 2 pairs of boots,
like another pair of footy socks over the top, and wore these boots that were like too big for me. But no, yeah. Well, they weren't quite that big, but yeah. Even with the a couple of pairs of footy socks on, I still had a good like a thumb width long, like a spare space at the end of my boot. But yeah, luckily we got away with the win on that one, so it was all right.
That's hilarious, man. Jesus. All right. Well, look, I think we've kept you long enough, man. We actually have Matt Gitto coming on the House of Rugby UK this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Any good bit of banter for the lads to get on?
Oh. And you've just ruled it out.
I don't know how much I want to throw him in there.
He's got something.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm just trying to think of like what he'll actually go along with though. But maybe I'll text you guys if I can think of something.
Good man. And look, give our love to James Kennedy in New York as well.
Yeah,
because we're due a live broadcast from Manhattan at some point as well.
Okay, we'll make sure that happens. I'm pretty sure he's upset because the St. Patrick's Day parade got cancelled as well this year. So he had a float and everything ready. So we'll.
Would you believe I was supposed to be in Sydney for St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, right.
In Manly in the Hotel Stein.
Yeah. It's a good spot.
Is it good crack?
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. And look, I quite enjoy a Guinness, so I might have to go down to my local bottle load, not our, because all our pubs are shut. We might have to go to the local bottle shop and get a couple tomorrow and have one in your honour, fellas.
Love it. Look, Drew, thanks so much, man. Keep the painting up.
That's it.
And send us a private link of Big Boy Barry. We'd love to see that as well.
I'll see how I go. I don't know if I've got enough paint for him. All right, fellas, no worries. Thanks
all right, man. Look after yourself.
All right, cheers.
Okay, we're back for part 4. Trimby, I was doing one of Pat's Joe.ie quizzes there in the meantime. He keeps putting up these soccer quizzes, these football quizzes of naming old-fashioned soccer players. I got 13 out of 20, Pat. It's not bad.
That's decent. Very decent.
Yeah, he said 16 above was exceptional, so I'm happy enough for that. Yeah.
It's been a long episode.
Right. It's been a long episode, man.
It feels like we're just going to finish recording and then it'll be next Monday again, and we'll just start again. Intro the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. 2 brilliant guests. Thanks so much to Drew Mitchell and to Ultan Dillane. And now we've got to rush through our 2 films, our film and our album. Our film was recommended to us by a penguin whose name I cannot remember. Can you?
No. Peter Penguins. I think penguins should remain nameless anyway.
We're all a part of the wheel, the cog of the wheel. All right. Well, it was Midnight Run. You seem to very much enjoy it. Robert De Niro and the other lad, basically a bounty hunter in Chicago. He's given about 3 days to to collect a bounty. What was his name? Goodwin, was it? The Duke. The Duke is his name. He's got to get the Duke, and he's got to get him from New York City back to LA by Friday night. I didn't realize until about halfway through that this was actually a comedy. Because you look like with that puzzled face and that you're just working this out right now.
No. One of the points that I was going to make was that literally 4 or 5 minutes into it, it dawned on me that it was a comedy, and I was like, I didn't see it coming because it's De Niro. When would this be in around Taxi Driver?
This was 89, I think, 88, 89. So, it's a good 10 years after Taxi Driver.
Oh, really? Okay. But the first scene he starts up by, he's going after this guy, picks the lock. The guy shoots a hole in the door. And he goes after him, and it's gritty enough. Like I thought it was going to be a tense. I thought it was going to be a tense kind of thriller, and then the soundtrack is the big giveaway. I don't know. It took you halfway through the movie to realize the soundtrack just changes the tone completely. It's not a million miles from Beverly Hills Cop. It just kicks in. You're like, oh, these guys are having a good time as well.
I feel like there's a guy just at home with an electric guitar and maybe a little drum loop machine, just watching the scenes and like jamming over it.
Yeah.
But
it has that guitar plugged into a cat.
For me, it was the Slags. When they start calling each other, they just abuse the shit out of each other for the whole thing. Like, and especially the gangsters are calling each other dummies and stuff like that. And there was a couple of pecker breaths in there and motherfuckers and stuff like that. Yeah. And then they really kicked in for me when there was like so many people knocked out with punches.
Yeah.
Like every time someone punched, they'd be like immediately asleep. Can you imagine if that was happening in rugby? Like there was like that many. Imagine the HIAs that these lads must have.
Imagine one of them giving off.
The second bounty hunter gets knocked out about 10 times. I'm like, Jesus, this fella.
I like the character, the 2 goons. Like there's one who kind of knows his stuff, and then the other guy, the taller guy, he was just there for comedic value. Exclusively comedic value, because the other guy's on the phone and he's talking to, what do you call the head gangster? What's he called? Serrano. He's on the phone to Serrano. Serrano's threatening him, and he's very. It's a tense conversation, and his mate is like, "Ooh, shadow boxing" in the background.
I think a lot of that stuff was all done off the cuff. Apparently a lot of the scenes between De Niro and the Duke were all kind of ad lib. which makes it even more funny because they're both intense kind of characters. Also, the cars. I wish my car skidded like it did in the 80s. My car going around the corner, it was just like, even it wasn't even going that fast. And the lack of mobile phones, obviously, quite interesting. Do you know if you're dialing a number, can you? This might be a stupid question, but can you hear what numbers are being dialed by the tone of the button being pressed? Do you know what I mean?
You mean like if I heard the noise, would I know what?
Does every button have a different noise?
I think so. Yeah.
Beep 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 beep. So if you recorded
back
it,
then, not now.
yeah. I was thinking if you recorded, like, would you know what? And listen carefully, you'd know what number is being dialed, because there's a good few times where they're trying to find numbers and stuff like that. Look, it's not important, Andrew. It was just something that I got into. And that again, if any of our penguins out there know the answer to that question, let me know. But yeah, hilarious film. I'd highly recommend it. You?
Oh yeah, I loved it. And again, it's the same things happened to me quite a bit with Groundhog Day as well. 28 Days Later as well. I realized I've seen bits of it. That happens a lot with older films, and it doesn't happen anymore because no one just sits down and just catches the end of the movie and then runs off and gets dinner, or like everybody sits down to watch a movie on Netflix. You specifically switch on that movie because you've set that time aside to watch that specific movie. It was a different time. So I realized kind of halfway through, I've seen bits of this. The car chases were brilliant. The car chases it reminded me of a little bit of the Blues Brothers car chases.
Yeah, again,
just cop cars just slipping and falling. Those cop cars, like they like one bump in the road and they're already on their back.
Yeah. They don't invest in their kind of the cars that the police. I would actually love to have worked in a 1980s police department. Now that you mentioned it, because there's so many of them. They do fuck all. They're sitting around wearing pretty slick suits. Always the lads in the background are just sitting on desks, kind of chatting, having a little fag. All of them wearing sunglasses all the time.
Every table has got that many documents sitting on it. No one's doing any of those.
They're just chatting, and there's always be striking deals. Like it was never about the letter of the law. They were never throwing the book at you. It was always like, go on, sure, it'd be grand.
Robbing
fags off the prisoners and stuff like that. I'll be all over that. All right, quickly we move on to Justified by Justin Timberlake, and I'm going to justify it. The only thing I have to say is that people just need to go listen to it. It was a beautiful R&B album. Obviously, at the time when Justin Timberlake came out, he was considered part of NSYNC, and it was like, oh, it's Justin Timberlake, which I was probably included in that. He was going out with Britney Spears.
He had to win people over.
Yeah, and he knew that. He knew that this needed to be good, so he went and got Timbaland to produce half of it. He got the Neptunes, who'd be Pharrell and what was the other lad's name? Chad Hugo, to produce the other half, and you can quite distinctly hear the difference in their sounds. But there's a good 5 or 6 pretty shite songs that I presume might grow on you. But there's just some bangers, man. Like Senorita. Do you remember Senorita? Like when that came on the club when you were in 2002, when you were like pure wanting to grind up on someone. Do you remember, I'd imagine you, maybe not you, but me maybe wearing one of those bucket hats. That's what Timberlake used to wear at the time. Do you remember those fisherman hats?
Yeah, like one you put over a kettle or like a teapot.
No, it was actually it was almost like a festival going. It wasn't a woolly one. It was like a bucket hat. So it was almost like it had a lip.
Like a bowler hat?
Nah, you'd know it if you saw it. Kevin and Perry used to wear them. They're very much this era. And like one of those little goatee things that went straight down the line. Just listening to Senorita, can you tell my smile? Just walk doing rounds of the club, trying to score, listening to that. Just listen to it, close your eyes, you'll be back there.
He won us over, to be fair. And he reminds me a little bit. So he had zero street cred when he was in NSYNC and he was dating Britney Spears. And then he just changed his life around. He's like a kid that goes to university and just says, you know what? I'm working with NERD and Timberlake. Timbaland. Timberlake's a furniture shop. If he'd gone there, he would have been back where he started. But he reminds me a little bit like Channing Tatum did something similar. So he was Step Up, he was like rom-coms, and then he did 21 Jump Street, and all of a sudden everyone went, this guy's funny and cool. And then his next step from there was a Tarantino movie he did, Hateful Eight.
That's right.
It was a similar model. He was like, stuff
One of my
this, no more
favourite
Britney Spears or anything for me. I'm
Do you know what?
out.
I think you're right. I think what not only did Justin Timberlake get involved with like Timbaland and the Neptunes and stuff, he started doing the piss take songs with Andy Samberg. Do you remember like it's my dick in a box? Yeah, you got my dick in a box.
I haven't seen that song. I love Andy Samberg as well.
Yeah, they released like a load of songs but they're quite very similar to all of Justin Timberlake's kind of shit songs in this album. Like he's a song called Take It From Me Here, I think. And it's like going on about being a lake or something. I'm a lake, you're a tree. I just want to be your man in the lake or something. It's such bullshit. And then you kind of feel like he's taking a piss out of himself a couple of years later when he does that with Andy Samberg. So you forgive him for those tunes. But then you get to Cry Me a River. And like that is... I just want to listen to that on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. What a tune.
That led me down a rabbit hole, the Cry Me a River. So I wanted to spend half an hour like looking at the album, watching his old music videos I used to love. The one with the one where he's like dancing in the gym. It wasn't Senorita, it was another one, I can't remember.
Rock with me. What's that called again? Rock Your Body.
No. That was NSYNC. Was it not? Oh, that was Backstreet Boys.
No, it wasn't. It was him.
Anyway, I went down a rabbit hole and I spent half an hour and I just wanted to find out what went wrong with him and Britney. I was like, please. Yeah. I watched about 5 interviews and never got to the bottom of it.
Well, this is the reason I picked it, because she came out and tweeted the other day saying she tweeted this album and was like, I know it's water under the bridge this time or whatever. What happened between us?
She said with a Limerick accent.
She said, yeah, but fuck me, that's some album, lads. I swear to God. Fair play to Justin. And he tweeted back like a peace sign and a smiley face or something. So they've come to terms, and she's right. It is a banger of an album. And even though Cry Me a River, which is about her and their relationship breaking down, and he's creeping around her house in the video and stuff, and he's riding someone on her bed, it's all good. She's down with it. So yeah, have a listen to it. Skip through some of the garbage songs, or else have a laugh, and then listen to Andy Samberg and himself. Lonely Island, I think. Lonely Island. All right, that is so many. We've got to get to Penguin of the Week quickly, though. So many time, I mean. The House of Rugby Facebook is exploding and continues to grow. So
with artists.
Yeah. What was the latest art attack we had?
Yeah, so it was Tim Bergen.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Bergen put together like a cartoon of me walking along, minding my own business, quite long arms, and then falling through a pothole into like an underworld of penguins, and then realizing that it was all a dream. And I wake up in bed next to you. You're asleep with your guitar.
I do sleep with my guitar.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone wants an unplugged-in bass solo at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm there.
Yeah, I love it. And then the penguins.
There's a lot of penguins. The penguins are hanging up behind our bed.
Oh, that actually happened one time.
It's great. I love your screams. And the pothole it's brilliant. And the name is what's it called? Potholes and Penguins.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. Tim Bergen, you are Penguin of the Week, I think, is he?
Brilliant. Tim Bergen, fair play to you.
Yeah. A shout out again to our Hall of Famer Mark Hill, who's trying to raise €200 for Irish Cancer Society with his amazing art. And he's put together a great poster of Axel Foley that you can all download. In return, he's looking for whatever kind of donation you can. So please check that out on our Facebook page. And that is about it, I'd say. Yeah, this has been Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe, together with Guinness. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to everyone for helping putting this show together, to Pat, to Paul, to Diarmid, to Anthony, to all of you. Party on.
Party on.